up there with the chutzpah and aziz. There's not a person in the entire planet, that could be mistapik about the authority of the Torah knowledge of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. And Memela, for somebody to get up and say that the Torah says everyone has to take one, even if you don't take it, you have to give it to your wife or something, right? You took one, right? Let me see. I can't see. Okay. For somebody to get up and contend and say that, what it says in the Torah that Reb Chaim does not know, so it's an awesome chil Hashem. It's an awesome chil Hashem. It's also an awesome stupidity because he is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And it's not like we see, you could say that maybe there's Rabbanim that they're not Mesiaches. Reb Chaim is Mesiaches to the whole matzah going on. Ve'afal pikein, he understands, like I heard recently, that the Ramatkal, everyone knows what a Ramatkal is? Ramatkal means the person who's in charge of all the army and everything. So he got up and he said, look, they had some type of a targil, some type of a, what's called a targil, exercise in the north. So he said, what do you mean? The people can get the corona? He said, listen, this is the defense of Eretz Yisrael. Even if thousands would get it, of all of the members of the pluga, they would get it, of the unit would get it, but it doesn't matter. This is needed for the defense of Klal Yisrael. Most of us are not in situations of sikun, as is Hashem should help us all, and therefore it's considered in the gather of a normal shtadlis, and we're doing the normal shtadlis by wearing the masks and by sitting with this reform machitza over here and whatever, So Mamela, I don't worry about me. All right, yeah, because I'm not the Rosh Kollel anymore. I'm not the Rosh Kollel anymore, so therefore I also have one, and yours is waiting, Rabbi say. So. That's what Rabbi Yitzchak says the reason that we're starting is. Now, does that mean that we might not be here tomorrow? Because if it gets too difficult and complicated, so then we might unfortunately have to. But that's why please keep your eyes out for the emails, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing I just want to be madgish is that today, in the 3 hours that the decision was being made, literally it hit me at 12 o'clock because they closed the first Seder Kollel. They closed the first. That's where this all started from. Is that my first Seder Kollel got closed, and since they all got closed, so then Mamela started getting me nervous. What's going to be? And there's fines, and there's achrayas, and et cetera, et cetera. So Mamela, from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I didn't get a chance to prepare properly. I mean, Bez Hashem, we have a shir to say. I mean, this is not called stalling. This is really tayalas. But the Maisa, I didn't know what to do. For 3 hours, we were back and forth deciding, back and forth, and the Maisa. There came a point at about 2 o'clock. I still didn't know what to do. And then I just said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't know what to do. And I felt for a moment pshat in the pasuk by Cain. Cain did such a terrible crime. Cain murdered his brother. You can't get worse than that. And not only did he murder him, it was a pretty gruesome sight. I mean, he hit him 300 times and he was trying to get every hole and blood out of his body. It was quite a gruesome. It wasn't pashut. It wasn't like, a Stama brother, 2 brothers fighting. There was 300 times that he hit him until he was finally murdered. So Cain comes after this entire incident, and it doesn't seem to be it doesn't look so good for Cain. Cain says, and he starts saying all types of this. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu finally says, this is your punishment, and that's it. So comes again Cain, and he says, no, Rebbeinu Shalom, I can't take it. I can't take it. It's mamish. Cain at that point was the biggest. Cain did the greatest Holocaust in the history of the world. He killed a quarter of the world's population. Nobody in the whole world ever did such a dreadful crime as Cain. He killed a quarter of the world's population. Just to shtel zich for the amount of people that died from corona is not a percent of it. And he killed a quarter of the world's population by killing Hevel. Imagine today there would be, another, who knows how many billion people in the world. It's an unbelievable thing what he did. And he comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he says, Maisa, I can't handle it. I can't handle it. And you're the only one that can help me, Rebbeinu Shalom. And what does God say? Hitaka, you know what? I'll help you out. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps him out. And all of a sudden, Mamish gives a whole answer tonight. Anybody who kills Cain is in Mamish big trouble or whatever. Right? Suffice to say, it doesn't matter who you are. If you look up at the Shemayim and you tell Rebbeinu Shalom, I can't handle it. I need your help. No matter how bad the person is, or no matter how rachik the person is from the Rebbeinu Shalom. You look up to Rebbeinu Shalom and say, look, Maisa, I can't handle it. I don't know what to do. I don't know, etc. So then the Rebbeinu Shalom will give you Siyat Dishmai. We, Bez Hashem, hopefully, it's a difficult matzif what to do over here. Every time somebody walks, they think it's a Zionist. If you're not a Zionist, please come in because you're scaring my guys. Oh, you're not a Zionist. Come in. Okay. It's the Zionist dressed up, I think. Okay. Okay. Oh no, another Zionist, all dressed up. Okay. It's Maisa. There's difficult decisions over here, but I want to tell you two things, two Gemaras in Shkalim before I make the Siyam, and then we go into the Shir. Okay, the one Gemara in Shkalim is I want to tell you is a Gemara Taka. I think it was on Tez Zayin. It's an incredible Gemara. The Gemara talks over here about it's an incredible Gemara. The Gemara says at the end over here, right before Halacha Aleph, right before Halacha Beis. And anybody who's new, don't get nervous. It's going to Mitzvah Hashem flow this month. It'll flow Bez Hashem. Just we have to start. In Halacha Beis, in Halacha Aleph over here, there's an incredible Gemara. It's a Gemara I really need to explain, but Reb Pinchas says b'Shem Reb Shubin Levi. HaTorah nasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Moshe nasan like Eish Levana Charusa be'Eish Shchayra. The Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave, our Torah that was given to Moshe, it is fire, black fire, written on white fire. This is a very difficult Gemara. Then it says that it's Eish Muvlelis be'Eish. It's an Eish that's inside another Eish, Arangevein another Eish. And it's Chatsuva me'Eish. It was chiseled out from Eish. And it's Nesuna me'Eish, and it was given with Eish. And thus is Dichsiv Mimino Eish Das Lamai. That was we just saw in the end of the Torah, Mimino Eish Das Lamai. This Torah that we're talking about over here, I don't understand this Gemara side, but what the Gemara is telling over here is that Torah is an incredible koyach. And that's time you have to know what you're doing every day. When you come to that incredible koyach, you have a koyach with fire, you can control everything. Fire is the source for everything, right? Fire is the source for light, fire is the source for electricity, fire is the source for everything. It's an incredible koyach. With that koyach, a person can create incredible, what you could light up a whole entire world with the koyach of fire. Right? With that same koyach, he could destroy. Imagine the destruction that a person could do with fire. A person, what he could do to his own neshama. He could, if he is connected to that Torah, so then with that koyach, he can connect himself to the ganze, the kisei hakavod lane. Without that koyach, if he disconnects himself, that's a churban of his neshama. So that's first of all, just to know what you're doing every day is when you come to learn Torah. And you come to learn Torah every single day, especially in the matzav over here, especially when it's a little bit difficult. I know it's going to be difficult. I had to drive a little bit earlier today, and I was afraid I was going to get stopped, and what was going to be if I'd have to walk and not work. So you guys will walk, you'll walk around, and it'll be a little bit Mesiras Nefesh. And you know what? There is a fear of maybe fines. There is a fear of fines, but you know what? But it's an Eish. What you're connecting yourself to is an Eish. That's one Gemara I want you to know. Then there's another Gemara I want you to know, and this is a Gemara that, I'm not explaining myself. I'm just saying a lot of people, they called me today especially, and it was like a stressful day. And it's something you have to know in these days with your other Rebbeim and people that are, I'm no longer the Rosh Kollel over here, but I still have stress for the Rosh Kollel and whatever, but I'm no longer the Rosh Kollel. But you have to know sometimes there's going to be stress in these days. I hope there won't be, but there's an incredible Gemara that comes up 2 times in Masechta Shkalim. It's a phenomenal Gemara. The Gemara comes up twice. And the Gemara says over here, that is an incredible idea. The Gemara says, let me find one of them at least. Here, the Gemara talks about a difficult shaila of if Tumas Nevela, is there Tumas Nevela on the dam? If there's the Tum on dam Nevela, and how much dam Nevela, how much blood of a Nevela is Matame, is it Maksha? Very complicated Gemara over here. And comes along, innocent Amoira. So he says, Amalei Rav Yitzchak Bar Bizna Ad Kama. Excuse me. I skipped. The Gemara says, here. Rabbi Simon ben Rabbi Shua ben Levi. No, sorry. Now, there's a lot of gears here. That's part of the hard part. Shoyal Rabbi Simon. He asked Rabbi Simon, I think it was Rabbi Simon ben Levi. Ma'aseh prayed to Mishal Beis. Rabbi Shmei V'Taras Adam. Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar Shoyal Rabbi Simon. He asked him a question. At Kama. How much is metame? The Gemara comes up twice in Shkalim. How much is metame? Loi agiv. He didn't answer him. So Shaul Reb Shua ben Levi, he asked him, he told him Ravi is tired. Okay? Afterward, Boyeshar Blazer was all upset. Why didn't he answer me? Why didn't he answer me? What do you want from me? The Reb Simon didn't answer. Shmuel say, to say he has the same story with different mandam. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Bizna, at Kama, the Revius, Kitza, Boyet Bey. He says to him, what are you asking me? And he kicked him away. So Amalei Reb Zreika, begin Davi Shoylach, because he's asking you a question at Boyet Bey. Because he's asking you a shayla, you give him a patch. So Amalei, he tells him a whole story over here. Amalei, begin to loy avidaitibi. It's because I didn't have a yeshiva das. So in these days, it's important to hear. You're around different people. People have a lot of stress these days. It's an important thing to hear this. People have different stresses and whatnot. And I'm not the Derish Kaidal, so I'm not talking about myself. But the people have stresses these days. It's important to hear this. So Gemara says, he goes on to tell him, there's a klala in B'chukaisai. And in B'chukaisai it says, Hayu chayecha tluyim loch mineged, your life is going to be hanging in front of you. That's a person that's like chitim l'shana. That's a person that has parnasa for a year. And then there's a person, he's got mamish pachat day and night. That's a person that takes like keach min asidki. It means that he has his parnasa for a shorter time. And then there's a person like Simon b'chayecha. You won't believe your life. Zeh shehu lakeach min apalter. Zeh lakeach min apalter means he doesn't even have his bread for the day. He has to every day manage to get the money together in order to get the bread. He doesn't have today's bread. He has to worry about even today. He doesn't have what's going to be tonight. His kids are going to come home. He doesn't have food to feed them. He doesn't know what's going to be. So Gemara says, it says, "V'ana samech al paltera," right? And me, I'm samech on the palter. So I'm the one that this Amoira. He says, I'm samech on the palter. I have a lot of stress. So if I didn't answer you the right way, you have to don me the kaf schus. He's telling me. He's telling me it's the biggest side here because a Rabbi Taka has to be like a Malach Hashem Tzivakis and a person, but sometimes the person knows there's a lot of stress. And the hedge, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the matziv going on in the klal. I Baruch Hashem, so Titus and everything should be good for all of us. I'm just saying that you're around people these days, whether it's other Rosh Hashanah, whether it's other Rabbeim, whether it's parents, whether it's in-laws, and it's this, that, and it's a matziv of stress. And there's a Gemara here, which it's one of the most beautiful Gemaras that I know of. The Gemara over here in Shkalim. The Gemara talks about how it's unbelievable Gemara. The Gemara talks about how there were different families. It's a famous Gemara from Yuma, but the Gemara is brought over here also in Shkalim. The Gemara says over here that there were different families that knew different secrets of how to make beautiful Kallus and how to make the pita makatoiros, how to make beautiful smells, and how to make all different zachen that they knew how to make. Right. So the Gemara says over here that there was a big pickbook on these families, and there was a big shaila if these families were rishayim or tzaddikim. A big shaila where these families, were they rishayim, were they tzaddikim? It has to do with the fact that shkalim is a lot about money. It's about daning l'kaf schos or whatever. Today everybody offers opinions and everybody's screaming at everybody else and this and that. So don't give so many opinions. Over here the Gemara talks about that there was a mishpacha that they weren't sure were they tzaddikim, were they rishayim, because they wouldn't tell over the secret. When you asked them why they wouldn't tell over the secret, so they said because we know that the Asid is the base of Mikdash is going to be destroyed, and we're afraid that the secret will fall into the wrong hands. We know the smell, how to make this beautiful smell. We know how to make this beautiful coil, and we're afraid it's going to fall into the wrong hands. And if it falls into the wrong hands, was zayin? So then they'll go and use this for avodah zarah. That's what they used to say. But people were always chayshid them. The Marayim were chayshid them. That the reason why they were doing it is because they were making money from it, and they would charge a lot of money to make the ketayros, etc., etc. At the end of this Gemara, which it's aflafel. It's aflafel. So Gemara brings over here at the end that Amar Rabbi Yasi says Pamecha Sayisi Ayimid B'Yushalayim Matzasi Tinek Echad. He was from Beis Avtinas. Amarti like Beni from what mishpacha you? He says I'm from mishpacha's plain. Amarti like Beni Avasecha. They were in Eskavu, the rabbis kfaidim. Maisa, they were trying to just be marked their covet and to make more money, and that nobody else should know the secrets of the Torahs, the secrets of the beautiful sounds of the Khalil, of all the different things. So because of that, they don't exist anymore. They're in a smayit. You no longer have a family. You no longer have a family. And that's what the Gemara says. So Amar Rabbi Kiva, Sachli Shimon ben Luga, Malaket Ta'isi Asavim. I was collecting grass. The Tinak Echad Mishal Beis Avtinas. And that there was a Tinak that was there from the base of Tinas. I saw him crying. I saw that he was smiling. Amarti like, Beni, lama b'chisa, why are you crying? Amali, I'll cover base Abish and Ismail. Because the Maisa, I don't have a family anymore. I don't have a family anymore. It was around the time of the Churban. The lama sechachta. So then why are you smiling? He says, because Amali, I'll cover them asukim la tzadikim la sadlavai. Because I see that there's going to be great covet for tzadikim in the future. Maila Ashin, Lenigdi, Numesilan Bini, Hereli. Show me this Maila Ashan. Show me this type of, they had the secret of which types of spices would go into the ketayros. And he said, that's the Maila Ashan, it's one of the spices. Show it to me. He says, Amali, Mesiris Biyadi Mavaise, Shalada. I can't show it to you. We have a Kabbalah not to show it to anyone. Amar Yechanan ben Nuri, Paga bi Zakin Echad Mishal Beis Atinas. Finally, I met an old man from this kingdom of Beis Avtinas, and he had the secret in his hand. Held the secret in his hand. We handed this down base of Tinas to base of Tinas, Mamish Yushalmi to Yushalmi in the mikvah. We handed this down, and the Achshav Ein Beis Abba, the man, who knows what's at Zion? Who knows? So he says, he gave Rav Yochanan ben Nuri the Megillah. He gave him the Megillah, and he said, Heilech es ha-Megillah v'zarba. Take this Megillah now. I know that I have to get it into good hands. You're a tzaddik of Yochanan ben Nuri. Go give it to your Rebbe, Rebbe Kiva, and let's, that way that the Messiah will be held by good people. It says there, he's a Kishabasi verseitzi advarim lefnei Rebbe Kiva zolgai einov tmoyes. He started to cry. He swelled up, his eyes swelled up with tears. And he says, V'amar me'ata ein anu tzrichim laskir and genai. Now we know the emes. Now we know the emes. Now we know that they were always doing l'shem shemayim. It's not Kedai to offer opinions. It's not Kedai. You don't know. You don't know. Now we found out that it was l'shem shemayim. Zalga ein of tmoyes. This matziv, it's a difficult matziv. Everybody, I wasn't sure what to start about it. If I say, you learn Torah, your mouths are the mouths that learn Torah. Use your mouths for Torah. I didn't know how to start today. Your mouths learn Torah. Stop with all the opinions of these people, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Ad Kedei, that everyone thinks that all of a sudden, we have good friends in the Knesset, and we have good friends, because the Ma'aseh Charedim are inside and all that, right? Rabbi say, and then he offers an opinion against Reb Chaim Kanievsky. It's all you do, Rabbi say, is learn Torah, keep yourself safe, and don't bother other people. Don't bother other people. If walking down the street, it's going to bother somebody to see you not wearing a mask, so wear a mask. And if you keep yourself safe, because we want the Kallus to continue, right? Because you want to learn Torah, stop with the opinions. Just, stop it. There's so much opinion. There's so much mishigas in the veld. Use your mouth for Torah. Use your mouth for Torah. And you know what? If you do that, Rabbi say, you'll have a lot of siyata d'shmaya. You have a tremendous amount of siyata d'shmaya because everybody out there is talking in Arishkeit and that which they should not be talking. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's opinion is smarter than the next one. We have Gedolim. We do what the Gedolim say. And more than that, go learn Torah. It's not having opinions. That's what I wanted to share to you from Masechta Shkolim. At the end over here, the end of the Masechta ends with the different placement of the Ivari Atamid, where they placed on the Mizbeach. You place the Ivari Atamid on this part of the Mizbeach, on that part of the Kevesh. It's different Hanhagis. At the end of here, it talks about Hashkolim Bikurim Einig Noyig Bizman. Let's say somebody would say Hareza Bikurim. It's a big machlekes. What if I say Hareza Bikurim? Is it Noyig? Does he now have a problem? Right? We have in the back, we have a Riemann tree. We had a whole Shiloh once because one of my older kids was saying to the younger kid, this is Bikurim, and when the base of Mikdash will be brought, we're going to bring this as Bikurim. And he was already above Bar Mitzvah. Okay, but he doesn't have a right to be Makdish my tree as Bikurim. So the Mela is, okay. But that's, a whole Shiloh that we had. He hasn't gotten dessert in a few weeks. My Dogan is yes Noyig. If he says these are Bikurim, they're not Kodesh. And then the Masechta ends with the Mikdash Kodesh. It says, what happens? A ger, a person becomes a ger, Bizman Hazeh, so then in the time of the base of Mikdash, you have to bring a korban. But today, he doesn't have to bring a korban. Why doesn't he have to bring a korban? Because no base of Mikdash. The Shaila is, does he have to set aside the money to bring the korban? So Reb Shimon, and the Masechta ends with the words that halacha Reb Shimon, Kedai Reb Shimon in the Shasat Chach. But Reb Shimon said, don't even set aside the money for the korban. You're a ger, and that's it. Do a bris milah, go into the mikveh, and you're a ger. I didn't bring the korban, so it doesn't matter. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will accept that. That's enough. In the time of the base of Mikdash, you have to bring a korban. Now you don't have to bring a korban. And that's it. That's Adkan. That's Hadron Alach. The Parak Kol Arukin, Slicha Masechta Shkolim, V'Seder Mayid, V'Shas Bavli, Bezos Hashem. So now I'm not going to continue the Hadron because I want to loyal to myself. Maybe I'll say the Hadron after. If the Zionists come, so then I'll finish the Hadron. And I'm not the Rosh Kollel, if anybody asks, and then we'll finish the Kaddish. Okay. In the meantime, I'd like to start the Shir. And the Maisa, I have one more, drop of Akadama. I asked the old guys. I'm not going to ask Mechila from because you're used to me already. And we needed to have some sort of Akdama today. The new guys who came for Halacha, so I'm going to teach you something more important than Halacha. I'm going to teach you the question that I got asked today from a certain young man. He wanted to know, what should a younger man be doing at this shlav in his life? Should he be learning, Mesechtes, Be'in, etc.? He should learn Bekiyas. He should learn Halacha. He should learn Halacha, which is, each person is different, and each matzav is different, and there's no klal, and But I just want you to understand the importance and the value of what you do. And certainly, Kal V'chomer for a young man who's only going to be in Eretz Yisrael for a short time. It's going to be in Eretz Yisrael for 1 or 2 years. Even a shorter time, like 3 years or whatever, right? But and also for a young man that plans on learning for a long time, what should he be makdish his lima to? So the Maisa, the Mishabura in Kufnin Hay and Sifkat and Gim discusses this, and it's nachad that the ikar limit of a person has to be belimet halacha. Kadesha yeda eichlis naig lemaisa. Mishabura over there is talking about a person that's only able to learn a short amount every day, only 3-4 hours. Right? So he says, a person that's only able to learn 3-4 hours, I'm going to shtel for a person that's only going to learn after marriage for 2 years. In Kallus, a short amount of time. It says, Baruch Hashem Shmitzarayim, it's mutal upon him to learn halacha. But Baruch, he has to get a limit of how to learn halacha. That's what you have to do. Says the Mishabura in his Akdam and Chelik Aleph. I'm just quoting now. Asher b'kol masha adam loimed afilu kachim and tyrus. He's mekayim the mitzvah to save Talmud Torah. Even though whatever you learn, you're getting the mitzvah to save Talmud Torah. But the ikar limit sarich liyos in the limit hamevi lidei maisa. That has to be the ikar limit. The ikar limit is to be maybe lidei maisa. That means if the police come in, you can tell shaykhis, we're learning halacha. The second you say that, they're going to run out scared. And say, no. They're doing what they have to do. They're doing the ikar limit. They're doing it, right? They might join the koil. And not only that, so which chelik should I start with? Says the Mishabura, chelik orachayim hu hayoser mukdim l'limid afshekol arba chelkei shulchan aruch hanitzrachim. Even though you have to learn all 4 volumes, of the shulchan aruch, and the 5th one too, seichel. Akapanim. Even though all 4 are necessary and nitzrachim l'maisa.
Loud and clear.
But the maisa, mikomakam the chelik says.
But I can hear myself as well for some
reason.
Because
the idea of this is yoim. You have to know ubeladoi without the knowledge in halacha leyorim ish Yisraeli. An Israeli man should not lift his hands.
Amir, can you hear yourself when you talk?
Halacha. That's Mishabura in the Akdama. Then he brings down when he talks about Shabbos, what we're learning specifically. It's not shaykh b'mitzias sha'adam yinatzal me'isur Shabbos im loy yilmad kol hadinim burim hativ. That's it. It's not possible. It's not possible for you to do the right thing unless you learn Hilchos Shabbos hativ, the way we learn hativ, to know it halacha l'maisa at a saif. And not only that, eglei tal b'zakdama. Right, just like Shmir Shabbos is shakol connected kol mitzvahs. You all know that every part of Shabbos is shakol. When you're Makayim Shabbos, it's connected kol mitzvahs. So too, the lilmoid ulalamed of Hilchos Shabbos is shakol ki lilmoid v'lamed of kol mitzvahs. So what you're doing every day when you come in with that fire to learn Torah in Hilchos Shabbos. You're coming to learn Shabbos, we're going to learn this man, Mitzvah Muksav, the biggest sukkahs in all the Shabbos. The limud is shakol keneged all limudim. Imagine all the limud. Imagine, it's unbelievable. Imagine a person would have a Seder, he's learning Kachim, he's learning Tyrus, he's learning Nashim, he's learning Nezikim, he's learning everything. Right? He's learning Baba Kama, Baba Basu, Baba Sali, out. He's learning everything. But he's not learning Hilchos Shabbos. There's another guy learning Hilchos Shabbos. The person learning Hilchos Shabbos is shaveh to all kol kulam. Top of the fellow. Okay? Certainly, the person was asking me, he was going to learn Nida. He said to me, he was going to a kollel that they were learning Nida. And I said to him, Dad, you don't have to worry. The Chachmas Adam in his Akdama, he said, Limud Chelik Yeredeya and Ebenezer. He says, Bikshu mimeni l'chaber chibar shulchan. They asked me, Chayadam was a balabas. As he writes about himself. He says, I was a balabas. They asked me to write a book, a sefer, about the limit of halacha, of the importance of learning Yeredeya and Ebenezer. So he says, Kedei that the balabatim also should learn it. I'm going to take away the toys that people have, that the people make a mistake and they say, Yeredeya, that's for Rabbanim. Yeredeya is for Rabbanim. Like they admit, what we're doing is not just for Rabbanim, it's for everybody. Yeredeya, that's just for Rabbanim. He says, it's true. Most of Yeredeya, it's Sarah Gadol the Kol Yisrael, and therefore I was Mesader it, and also I was Mesader that from Choshen Mishpat, what you need. Because Mikaven should be bein Adam lechaveri shnei chalakim, there's tzedek and there's mishpat. Tzedek zeh shelo yaseh davar sheyetzeh mizavel. You have to make sure that you don't do avlas to people. And mishpat is kasher, you do the avil, you have to go to the shofet. And he says, Gamin Evan Ezer, there's kama v'kamadinim. So he writes like this, Habalabatim, that writes Madas, Lamid, they have no time, so they can learn my sefer. They can learn my sefer. That's what they'll do. Like they're shaykh to Rabbanim, etc., etc. No, fine. But he says, but everybody's got to know Talayim and Malchei Akum and Hilchos Nida and Sharalach. It's a Chiyav Gomer. Chiyav Gomer. So that means that you have to realize that what you're doing by learning Gur Chaim, that's the Chelek HaMost Koydem. Then afterward, there are certainly Chalakim of Even Ezer and Chayshim Mishpat and Yeridea that every single Jew has to know. You have to know that. Maisa, I made a cheshbon over here that if a person wants, I'm saying, now that you're oisik in halacha, so maybe not to do this, but it's a good thing to keep in mind for the rest of your life. Now you're learning halacha, you're learning how to learn halacha, right? But I made a cheshbon over here that in a year, you could finish the whole Shulchan Aruch Rav on Choshen Mishpat. The Shulchan Aruch Rav wrote a kitzur on Choshen Mishpat, halachas that are needed to know for every person. In 1 year, if you learn 2 seifim a day, 2 seifim a day should take you about 5 minutes. It's written in a very easy language. I'm just trying to show you as sagas. It doesn't have to be this year. I'd rather you focus on Hilchos Shabbos and Hilchos Moksa. But just concepts. You should have this asaga. The yid that starts learning halacha should have this asaga, right? You should certainly have this asaga. The limit of 2 seifim a day, you can finish it. Also, Taka, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Yeridea part of Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, 2 seifim a day. Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Yeridea part, 2 seifim a day. There's no reason why not. They'll get him the Yeridea part, and they'll get him the Even Ezer part. I made a cheshbon here. It's Chutz Mehilchos Avelis. My cheshbon, it works out like that. I'm just saying, this is certainly what a person has to do. So the limit halacha, I have more here, but we want to start. But the limit halacha is kaidem lakayl. What you're doing is kaidem lakayl, and it's extremely important. Extremely important. Now, the Bez Hashem, in the limited moments that we have left, let's at least start. Danny will make it into a separate chair, I suppose. So let's at least start. Okay. So first of all, you see over here that Rabbi Lieberman wrote the shirim from last Zman, from Kosher Matir, Makar Toiv Moed. Everybody should look at it, and if there's hours, you should please tell him and tell me. It's the 2 hours that Rabbi Lieberman came out at the end of Ben Zman, which I wanted to say over to the Olam, which I was nanim oid. One is that we spoke at the end of the Zman about, I should actually start with a little bit of Dhamma. Mitzvah Shem, this Zman, what are we learning? So we're going to learn Mitzvah Shem. Over here in kosher, there's a sif that we skipped, which is not exactly kosher related, but for the Shlom of Shin Yadayin, we're going to learn it. It's really Makeh B'Patish related. And the word stadim to leave it, because after Muksa, we're probably going to do Bayina anyways, and leave it for then. But L'man HaShlom Sadavar, we'll spend a couple of days on this. It'll give us anyways the time for the Olam to get back together. It's the chelik of the Sugya of Makeh B'Patish. So that's Mitzvah Hashem, what we're going to talk about for the next few days, depending on what exactly goes on the next few days, and if there's people in Bidud, et cetera, there is a slight possibility that I might take off another week and do the Sugya of Rechitza, a slight possibility, and then go to Muksa the week afterward. That's the suffix right now, but that in Mitzvah Hashem shouldn't affect the Mitzvah Hashem that I'm Kaimis on right now and this week are Makeh B'Patish, and they'll be here at Mitzvah Hashem today. That's what we're doing. Just to mention one thing from last month. The Rabbi, what we spoke about in Kosher, so at the end we spoke about these twist ties, and I never realized how incredibly negaya they are, because in the olden days they were much more negaya. All those twist ties, they were very, very negaya because people used them for challah bags and cake bags and all types of zachet, right? And now I see they're all over the champagne bottles, the wine bottles and whatnot. They're all over the place. Maisa, we came out at the end of last month. That's mutter. It is mutter to open. If somebody's going to ask me, is there a milah to open it before Shabbos? So I would say yes. The only thing is that if you're going to open the champagne bottle one before Shabbos, so then in the middle of the night, you're going to get quite a shock, right? If it lasts that long at all. So there's certainly a makom to be makel, And Grada, I believe, been pointed out to me something which I definitely agree with, is that kafi the svaras that we said, closing it is bigger problem than opening it. And closing it, usually you can get out of. Closing it, if nobody's asking you to take a twist tie and tie each other, just go around and around, and no one says that's usher. The Gabe opening it, so the only question over there is a matir, possibly, a matir shaloy manas to kosher. It's which already knocks down the shaila. Plus, we said that there's a tzad to say that when you're twisting, even if those that held it's a problem, it's only a problem of toiva, of spinning, and there's no opposite malacha of toiva, which means that there would be no problem of opening it. There would be no problem with opening. Plus the other 10 svaras that we said why a twist tie is not an issue. And therefore, if somebody wants to know the final psak on a twist tie, on a champagne bottle, or whatever, if there's something you could have opened before Shabbos, open it before Shabbos. But Mashayk, if you couldn't open it before Shabbos, so then certainly you could be makel to open it on Shabbos. Interesting thing, it's like one of those things that a person looks at, he thinks for sure he's doing an Isser, no? For sure he thinks that when he's opening a twist tie. Lamaisa, it's Yosef Nira Ma'oi, that it's no Isser B'chlal. What shaykhs to a kosher, it's B'chlal not making this into one, it's just making a lock on the bottle, it's taking a piece of metal and locking it into place. Therefore, I don't see any Isser involved. And L'chayra, one could be makel. That was one nekuda. Another nekuda is that I heard it not just from you, but even other people asked me the shayla at a wedding last week. They were talking to me about this, the system of how they're going to all hold hands at the wedding. You can't hold hands because the guy next to you might be a corona bag. So what do? You take a rope, like a gartel, and you tie a knot. There's different shitas, but this was the shita they took. They tie a knot, and then afterward, 2 meters here, right? But 2 meters down, they tie another knot. Then, okay, by that point already, 1 meter down, they tie another knot. Then 1 foot down, they tie another knot. And then, 1 inch down, they tie a knot on top. So that way, you hold on to your neighborhood. And that's how it goes. That way, you have what I'm saying. That way, nobody's going to touch anybody else. And that's how it goes. So Rabbi Lieberman pointed out that to do this on Shabbos, Lefi the Avnei Nezer is going to be mutter. Mamash fell to Gemaisa, but the few when we came out last month, it wasn't just the Avnei Nezer. No, Rabbi Bergman, it was also the Merkavas HaMishnah, right? And then we saw in the end, who else was it? Who remembers? It was also me, but I'm not the Rosh Kollel anymore. Yeah, so it doesn't matter now. I'm just a regular guy. I mean, I was a regular guy then also, but now it's official, right? No, but somebody else said it. Somebody very big, whose yard site was 4 days ago, 5 days ago. No, I'll give you a hint. I was out of Levi last year. And listen. And Nissen also said it. So they come out that you're just making a knot, which is not being mechaber. They came out that the lumdus of a knot is when you're taking 2 things, like you're tying this and this together. But if you make a knot in itself, which isn't attaching anything, they held its mother. Now I'm not saying this is the chatchila to do. And I'm not saying that one should be saying on the Avnei Nezer. When it was a fight, we only used the Avnei Nezer to be mitzaref the Avnei Nezer to other things. And I'm just saying it's just a good application of where the Avnei Nezer would have been there. And the Avnei Nezer would have been tying the knot himself, right? Or maybe he would have held the whole thing like that. We never know, right? But come again? No, it wasn't a word of talus. It was a word of being mechaber together 2 strings. That wasn't a word of talus. It's a vada talus. But it was putting together 2 things. That was the issue. Okay. Oh, so that you have to speak out. He's of course right. You have to speak out that if it's at the end, we're like on the bottom of the tzitzit string, and it's gonna, it's kafel shmein or something. But let's say we're talking about a gartel or something, which is already tied at the end, or whatever. So now you're just tying the middle part. You're not doing anything that's being mechaber something together. Right? That's what comes out. It's an unbelievable thing. I thought it was very geshmakar. Now, Maisa, I'm going to give you a little bit of akdama. Mitzvah Shem today, you'll see the Marmar Kaimis. Whoever needs chavrusa should come to myself. Because I'm helping the Rosh Kollel. I'm going to help the Rosh Kollel or Yitzchak, and I'm going to help the Rosh Kollel because he's a big Talmid Chacham and a tzaddik, and he told me we have to start today. So, Maisa, I'm going to help if anybody comes to me today. Then I'm going to help Yossi and Nossi, the other Rosh Kollel over here. And I'll help you get a chavrusa. And the Olam already should start the Marmar Kaimis today and tomorrow. I can give you a more proper shir that you could be more informed. And those that are watching on TV, so then they should go up already. The Marmar Kaimis will go up already on TV. Are they up already? Are they up, Micha? Are they up already? They're not up yet. No, okay. So then we'll be putting them up in Mitzvah Shem. Now, the Maisa, this sugi over here, I'll read you the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says that, like this. Nishmetu loy ritzuyas minol v'sandal. Okay, what happens? Your laces come out of your shoes. This is Sif Beis. This is the only Sif that we skipped in Siman Shin Zayin. This is Ashlam of Siman Zayin. Nishmetu loy ritzuyas minol v'sandal. Ayshe nishmat roiv haregel. Okay, we'll have to talk what this is. Mutar lachzer. It says if your shoelace comes out on Shabbos, you're allowed to put it back in. Where's the negeya? Why is the shoelace coming out on Shabbos? So I'll tell you a story. Right? I woke up one Shabbos, this is going back a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I woke up on Shabbos and then I looked down at my Shabbos shoes, right? And in one shoe, there's a pink lace, and in the other shoe, there's a pink lace, right? On the floor next to my shoes with the pink laces. Right? Now, there are some weird people in Greenwich Village, like some men that are married to men, and that's how they do it l'chatchila, right? I'm not cool with that, right? And I'm not wearing black shoes with pink laces. That's not my thing. If my shoes would be pink, then there'd be what to talk about. What do? I have 2 laces on the floor over there, right next to my shoes. 2 laces on my shoes, and my girls are so excited. This was their project Shabbos morning before they woke up. Tati missed Nate's Kinira that morning, and this was their project. They're all excited. They wanted to show me their creation, and now I have the 2 things. I'm a simple Jew. I don't know what to do. So I open up Shulchan Aruch. I see over here it says that if the shoelace came out of the sandal, this is the same idea. The lace came out of the shoe. So then, mutter la'achzir hartzuis l'kaiman u'bavad shelo yikshor. Just make sure. In those days, they used to have a lot of us have the sweatpants like that. You put the string in, and then at the end, you don't want it to come out. So you're going to come to tie it. So on that they say, don't tie the string when you put it in. Our shoelace is not exactly negaya. It's not like that type of a shoe. So that says over here, you can put in the shoelace, but don't tie it at the end. Kum tzegein the Ramah. That's only if you could do it with ease. Dafka, if you could put it back with below tayach. No, Rabbi say everybody has a shoelace. It has that plastic thing on the end, or it has the metal on the shoe itself, or whatever. I don't know if I just said something that's not cool. But I'll go upon him. I probably do know. But anyways, the plastic. Everyone has the plastic, at least in the shoelace, right? So you take the shoelace, you put it back in, right, and then Shalom Al Yisrael. As long as it's not betircha. If there's a tircha, you're not allowed to do it. In tzarich tayrich, that's aser. What's the reason why it's aser if there's a tayrich? What's the reason why it's aser? So the Ramah says, because Shema Yekshor. If there's a tircha, you're not going to want this to happen again. So then we make a gzeira that you might come to tie. If we make a gzeira, you might come to tie things on Shabbos, right? Who can think of a good example of something that you're not going to do, you're not going to be allowed to do because you might come to tie it? What do you think? Maybe a balloon, right? It's like kids, a lot of times they have balloons and they're blowing them. So what would be the biggest gzeira? Gzeira Shema Yikshor. The derech of after you blow up a balloon is you tie it. So see this, it's going to come out that you're not going to be able to blow up a balloon. We'll have to see if that's true or not. But over here, we're introduced to a new sugya of Gzeira Shema Yikshor, which is the reason why it's in Siman Shin Yudzayin and see base. Because we make a Gzeira that you're going to come to tie it. So comes again the Shulchan Aruch and he says, if it was difficult to get this shoelace back in, so then we're not going to let you go and put it back in. You know why? Because you're going to come to tie it. Why are you going to come to tie it? Because you don't want it to fall out again. That's a sheet of the Ramah. What next of tircha is a good question. It's a good question. We're going to have to be magda that. But certainly, if you don't have those plastic pieces on your shoe, But the only thing is that on our shoes, is there a Shema Yikshor? It's not a gay, right? In our shoes, is there a Shema Yikshor? There's no Shema Yikshor. There's nobody in the world that's tying the. It's not a gay. I'm saying our shoelaces don't fall out. It's not a gay. They have to go through so much of a system over there. They're not falling out on their own. So that's not the issue by our shoelaces. So we're not going to have a Shema Yikshor on our shoelaces. Everybody's masking. So my will come out like this. Any simple Jew reading the Shulchan Aruch, he'll say, okay, so my pink shoelaces I could take out. Why not? Doesn't see any reason why not. Then afterward, can I put in my black shoelaces? Why not? Maybe it's if it's not difficult, nothing to discuss. Mashenke, if it's difficult, so then we don't even have a Shema Yikshor. Okay, but then you start doing a little further reading over here, a little further literature over here. And then right away, the Mishabura says, by Tircha, he says, Hachreinim argue on this. The Hachreinim are very upset with this. The Goyim, the Taz, they're not happy about this. Why not? Why they're not happy about this? Because they say that's not the reason why Tircha, Hachreinim isigo afilu anekev rachav aser b'makim sheregilim liksher. He said, look, if the Ramah was right, and it's a normal thing to tie a knot, then it's aser no matter what. If it's a normal thing to tie a knot, then it makes no difference if there's tircha or not tircha. That's not true. I explained to Ramah that the pshat in the Ramah is, if it's a tircha, you're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. But the Mishnah Berurah says that's not true. If a person has a gzeira, if there's a place of where there's a chashash that you might come to tie something, so then on that, there's no question that we make a Shema Yikshor, like my balloon case. You're going to blow up the balloon, you're going to come to tie the balloon. So therefore, we made a gzeira, Shema Yikshor, on a balloon. That's not the pshat over here. So the Achrayim, they say, not only that, they say, if there's a tircha, Let's say, like the case I gave you, a shoelace, which doesn't have that plastic piece, and you can't get it through. You have to mamish work on it. Sometimes you have a sweatpants, and the string came out. And you need rachmei shemayim and to use shemis to get that string back inside. It's not an easy thing, right? It's not an easy thing to get that thing back in. It's a tircha gedayla. So here, he says, "Afilu b'makim she'ingrid." That's aser. Why is it aser? So Mishnah Berurah is a little bit mekatzer. In the Bir Halacha, he's a little bit more elaborate. The Achrayim explain over here, there's a problem of makeh b'patish. This is where our sugya starts. Our sugya starts that we know ein binyan b'kelim. What does it mean, ein binyan b'kelim? It means if you have give me a good example of an ein binyan b'kelim. What? That's a bad example. People see that's a complicated example. I have to explain what's going on there. Right? Let's say you have something that, what? No, but I don't want to go into that. I want to talk about assembly things that you take in and out and on and off and whatever. Okay, what? Keter drawer, okay? You have a keter drawer, and I don't want to make it too big a keter drawer where it might have a din of a karka if it's 40 sa, but you have just like regular keter drawers, you know, those plastic keter drawers, okay? To take them out, to put them in, there's not a problem. Okay, but there you'll say that's not a raya. The reason it's not a problem is because they're made to come in and out. You know, they come in and out, supposed to come in and out, that's why you bought it like that. Okay, but let's say you have, let's give you an example. Let's say you have, those cups, those cocktail cups, you know, that the bottom and the top. Okay, and you're sitting there at the table like every normal person, and you're playing with it. You know, that's what everybody does at the table. You're playing with it, and you're going in and out and in and out. Right? So, are you allowed to do that on Shabbos? So we say ein binyan b'kelim. Now there might be a problem with moksa, which we're going to talk about, but we say ein binyan b'kelim. Ein binyan b'kelim. What does it mean? Ein binyan b'kelim. Ein binyan b'kelim means that if something was not being assembled now for the first time, to assemble something for the first time, that's a problem makeh b'patish. If this was never made before, you can have this very simple thing, this cup. You buy the tops and you buy the bottoms. And then you put it together for the first time on Shabbos. That might be an issa deraisa of makeh b'patish. That might be an issa deraisa. Because that's not reassembly. That's makeh b'patish. You're putting it together for the first time. But once it was made, to put it back together again, after it was made, you know, you took it apart and you put it back together again. So then that we say now is not makeh b'patish, because not the first time. Right? And on that, we're going to apply the klal, ein binyan b'kelim. Now, the sugya boina, Mr. Hashem, that's coming after muksa. Okay? But that's where our sugya starts. Comes again, the Mishnah Berurah, and he says, that's all if something goes in with ease. To them we say, we don't see it as broken. We see it as reassembly. Listen closely, everybody says, the klala klala. We see it as a reassembly. We see it as a reassembly. If something is goes back with ease, so that we don't. It's not the first time, so it's not makeh b'patish, and we don't say binyan because ain't binyan b'kelim. It's reassembly. But let's say it's something that takes it very difficult. My daughter brought me on Shabbos a decapitated Lego piece. Right? Not decapitated, de-armed. What do you call army? Like the arm came off. Those arms have that little dot. What's it called? Amputated, but just a hand. An amputated hand. That hand is very, you know that hand I'm talking about with that little yellow like stick that comes and you have to get it in there. You know what I'm talking about? You know, that little hook. Yeah. That's not easy to get back in. So she gave it to me. I thought I was a big, tough person. I put it back in, right? And you know, you see her praying, it's not going to be a Hilchos Shabbos problem. It's not going to be a problem with Hilchos Shabbos, right? And I put it back like that, and it doesn't stay. And to mamish to put it back in, you have to bring, the task force. No, mamish. It's every no, I'm talking about. You know, they probably have an idea. No, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to get back in, right? Then you don't have Lego by you, right? You don't know what I'm talking about. The English don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, it's what? You know what I'm talking about. They sell it in Tesco. It's right. That's to get it back. That would be a good example of something that you can't just say that's reassembly. You can't just say it's reassembly because to get it back in is so much tircha, says the Mishnah Berurah, by us. Where's the makor by us? It's so much tircha that it means that we don't look at it as reassembly, something that's so incredibly difficult. Right? And Rabbi, I did not yet explain to you what's tircha. I'm just giving you a mashal. But it's so difficult that then we look at it that it's mekulkal, it's broken. If it's something so difficult to get back in, I can't consider reassembly. Where's the cutoff point? And it's a sham, that's what we're going to have to learn. We're going to have to learn what exactly is the cutoff point that we have to talk about. But that's what the Mishnah Berurah says over here. If you have a string that came out of the sweatpants, and it's very difficult to get back in, and it's a tremendous amount of tircha to get it back in, says on that, Dr. Mishnah Berurah, that already, you can't look at it as just reassembly. Makeh b'patish, it's not, because it's not the first time. Okay, but it's a different type of makir patish. It's something that was broken, and now you're fixing it. When do we say ein binyan b'kelim? Only when it's considered to be assembly. Don't get confused, Rabbi say. You have outside, today when I was walking, remember it's right down here. I was walking down the stairs. So you'll see it as you come in. There's a brick, right? There was a bunch of bricks over there by the entrance of that new machitza that they made over there. And one of them was, with the reingefallen. It was falling over. Right? The easiest thing in the world, you just pick up that brick and you put it back. And it creates like a tzura of a bunch of bricks that are nicely on the dirt like that. The easiest thing to just pick it up and to take it off. Right? That is also deraisa on Shabbos. That's also deraisa on Shabbos because yesh binyan b'karka. Anything that becomes one with the karka, that's a tzura, yesh binyan b'karka. Ayat's reassembly, that's a klal and kalim of a chodi. Ein binyan b'kalim. B'karka yesh binyan. Okay, now you have enough to start. You have enough to start. Mr. Shem, you think about this case of my daughter and the shoes and the 2 shoelaces. Simple guy reading Shulchan Aruch now. He's going to say, okay, look, it says mefurish, right? The shoelace came out. The shoelace is an easy thing to get back in. So he can take the shoelaces and put them back in the shoes on Shabbos. Right? And then Shalom Yisrael. And then he doesn't have to take his children and put them in the closet and take away dessert from them and all types of things like that, right? So the chayv. But think about it. Read the Mishabura. You'll get the Marmakaimis today, Mitzvah Shem. Anybody who's on Zoom, I want you here in the Kaidel tomorrow. Even you. That's including you. Yes, all of you. Oh, me. Yes, you. Every one of you. I want you here tomorrow. Anybody who doesn't have a chavusa, like I said, I'm going to help the Rosh Kaidel. Whoever's new, please give us all your information.